The Bobby O Show.
Welcome to the Bobby O Show. My name is Bob O. Potster. I'm an attorney from Danbury, Connecticut, and I have a wonderful show to you with a guest we've had on a few times in the past. But before I get to the guest, I just want to let you know that from my philosophy, my politics, my view of America, you see on my screen, it says, I stand with Ukraine. And that is my position and is not necessarily the position of my guest today or any guest in the future, but that's what I stand for. That's where I am. God bless America. Now we've transitioned to today's guest. We have Shannon Cobb today, who is with the wonderful facility known as Ann's Place. And she'll tell you about how it's branched out beyond just the confines of Danbury, Connecticut, where it's located. She's the CEO and president. And before I introduce her, I just want to read to you quickly something about Ann's Place. And that is, Ann's Place is a compassionate nonprofit serving Connecticut and Hudson Valley, New York, with professionals counseling, support groups, wellness activities, and educational resources. Thousands of people facing cancer come to Ann's Place for support, all at no charge, And we'll get into a little bit later on how Ann's Place funds its great activities. Ann's Place assists you and your loved ones to create a unique pathway through cancer that enhances your quality of life. Whether you are looking for support and resources for your cancer, or for a family member's cancer, or would like to give back by donating your time or funds, welcome to our community. Services are available online and in person. Welcome, Shannon Cobb. How are you this morning?
I'm doing great, Bob. Thanks for having me on.
It's always a pleasure. Shannon, give us about a minute background as to who you are and what your role is in Ann's Place before we get to Ann's Place itself.
I have the honor of being the president and CEO of Ann's Place, and I've been here since 2016. So I get to see the ins and outs of Ann's Place and how it's such an amazing community-run organization. I frequently call it managed chaos, Bob, because there's 18 staff and 800 volunteers. And our volunteers are probably some of the most amazing people that I've had the pleasure of working with because they're so involved, so passionate, and willing to do the really hard work to make sure Ann's Place stays stable so that our families can get the help that they need.
Shannon, what's the old saying? It takes a village, and you have quite a village of people. Just a little bit about your background. How'd you get into this field?
Right out of college, I started working in nonprofits and fell in love with it, doing everything from working with people with disabilities to helping seniors stay in their homes. Worked with abused and neglected children for a while. And it's just, something about the nonprofit sector. We may not pay great, but boy, we pay in dividends with your heart. And being able to be in that industry and knowing you're making a difference in the world, it's just irreplaceable.
And Jonathan, my director, if you could put up any point in time a picture of the outside of Ann's Place. It's a beautiful facility. I've been there a couple times. There it is right now. It's gorgeous. Where's it located?
On 80 Sawmill Road, right off of Exit 1. And that beautiful building was built by volunteers, Bob. Thousands of people came together, including professionals in carpentry and building and construction. And they built Ann's Place so that we'd have a home.
Do you still have on your wall, as you enter it, a copy of the list of people who have been substantial contributors, both monetarily and with their nails and hammers and things?
Yeah, we actually have a sculpture outside as well listing all of those folks with a huge plaque, and it's gorgeous. And, just remembering how many people it took to make this facility a dream, that dream come true. And it's a reminder of how many people it takes to make it come true every year for people who are facing cancer. We have probably 5,000 people that get involved with Ann's Place, either as a donor, coming to our events, supporting us in different ways. So it really is a community-run organization.
And as I understand it, Ann's Place does not, and I didn't realize this until I went there the first time to visit as a guest, and you showed me around. Ann's Place does not get involved in treating patients with cancer. It's more the heart, the mind, the soul of the person suffering from cancer and the family members. Is that a correct statement?
Absolutely. You ask anybody that's been through facing cancer, and the whirlwind you go through emotionally is pretty significant. And so people can go into some pretty dark places, whether they're the person with cancer or they're their loved one or family member. They start thinking about worst case scenarios. They feel helpless. They feel like they're no longer able to give back. So there's all kinds of really negative spiraling that can happen. And so Ann's Place helps these families kind of center a little bit, take a breath, breathe, talk to others who are going through it, and it really brings hope back into the lives of those family members.
And hope is a very important aspect of things. You're going to get into in a few moments about your fundraising activities, but one thing that my law firm of Collins Hannafin has been involved with for many years, and I participate, and maybe Jonathan could show us a picture of our firm. You have a road race. There it is. That's some of the crew. I'm not in that picture, but two of the ladies in that group, I'm proud to say, are cancer survivors, and they work in our office. And going from my right to your left, there's Louisa and there's Jen, who are cancer survivors, and they have participated, as have their family members, in your road race, your fashion show. I went to your fashion show one year. You didn't ask me to be a model there, but that's okay. I went anyway. I think you had.
Not yet.
What's that? Not yet.
Not
right?
yet, Bob.
Not yet. I think the one I went to was at the Richfield Playhouse. I'm not sure if you have it there every year. Do you have it there every year?
We do, and we have a new factions coming in this year from Elegant Ridgefield. So it should be a really great show. It's going to be on April 30th. We've got our models lined up. I'm gonna put your name in the hat though for next year, Bob. I think you could sport those clothes very well on stage.
I would be happy and honored to do so. The Elegant store you mentioned, I think, is a new store in Richfield, off of 35, I guess it would be. But there's people who contribute. And when I went the last year, actually, we had so many people in my firm who wanted to go that I just went to say hello, and then I left so others could enjoy the fashion. I'm not the most, I haven't been to fashion show except for yours, to tell you the truth. Tell me a little bit about what you do. Give me a couple topics that you do, and we'll get into those that you want to mention of what you do for the people who you are serving.
We're meeting people right where they are. Some people, cancer is a bump in the road, and they just need to talk to a few people and kind of figure out how to get around that bump. For others, it's like a cliff, that their whole world just sort of falls apart. And so for those folks, we're going to do a little bit more intense support for them. We have the one-on-one counseling if needed. We've got 30 different support groups, depending on whether they're the person with cancer and what type of cancer, if they're the caregiver, if they are young adults versus people who have been around for a while. All these different ways of approaching where that person is and what they need in their sort of enhancing and finding their path forward. So I think, we really let the person dictate how and when they need help. They don't want to do the more facilitated mental health support. They can do yoga. They can do Tai Chi. We have art therapy for people who are more visual. We have a labyrinth outside that they can do meditation with. So there's a whole lot of different options, because what works for one person may not work at all for the next person. So we really have the flexibility to kind of grow with a person and see what really aligns with their needs. My personal favorite is the Kitten Club. We have Rock and Roll Rescue, which brings in literally a barrel full of kittens, and we put them all on the table, and people can cuddle with kittens for an hour, and it's wonderful. I often will raid that group and hold the kitten for a few minutes. Changes your whole body chemistry.
I would say to you that I like, not that anything is better than the others, but I really like I'll call it your backyard, your garden area.
Yep.
especially in the springtime, we're coming to spring pretty soon. And it would seem to me that someone going through, family members or whatever, sometimes just sitting outside on a stool or a bench or whatever in that beautiful garden area. You still have the garden area, right? You still have that?
We do. And there's like almost 7,000 daffodils that will bloom in a few weeks' time. And usually early April, our daffodils will come up.
And I would bet you'd find that some of your people, I mean, everyone, there's no cookie cutter, right? When someone hears the word cancer, everyone reacts differently, and how they react and the family members react, and the pressure on the person who's got the cancer. If they have young kids, for example, how do you deal with them and that kind of thing? But the backyard, the garden area seemed to me to be a really good place for reflection. And it's a very nice aspect of your facility. I do want to do a transition for a second, because you and I could talk for about 5 hours on any topic, but especially Ann's Place. And we're going to do another show again in the next couple of months, maybe after the road race in August or whatever. But I was used to seeing Ann's Place as it was operating pre-COVID. And I kind of always, when I'm adding up like how long a marriage is, if I do a divorce case, I would say, let's see, COVID is 6 years. So pre-COVID, everything was done at your facility, of course, pretty much.
Right.
Now, with like in the court system, a lot of my cases are remotely done, except if there's evidence involved, and you do go to physical court. But I would suspect that nowadays, and in talking to you, it is happening, where there's more and more activities being done online rather than in the facility. Am I correct? And if so, let's talk about that a little bit.
Yeah. We discovered pretty quickly that our clients really loved that remote access. So we made all of our programs, we call our hybrid model, which is we have a system, some good technology that allows the people online to feel more present in the room with people that are there in person. And so that has kind of changed. You did it out of necessity during COVID, but now that we know our clients really prefer it, we have clients that are coming from further out because they don't have to drive in. And the one that I found most touching is that we have far more clients now in stage 4 cancer. And part of that was because of delays during COVID and treatment, but far more is because of the fact that we have this online availability. It used to be a person had to come in, so if they weren't feeling well, they just missed their support group or missed their counseling. Now they can do it from their bed if they need it. They could do it from the hospital. Anywhere that they are, that's where we are now. And so our stage 4 cancer clients, the numbers have risen quite a bit. So now 10 to 12% of our clients are stage 4, and we're able to stay with them longer. All the way to we do a lot of end-of-life work now, and we didn't used to. So that's been a little bit of a shift. And because we're supporting the whole family gets to know us. So, when that person does pass, we're able to do a whole slew of bereavement services for the family. We have 2 different bereavement support groups, and then we have this wonderful program called Grief Yoga, because we wear our grief and our stress in our body just as much as in our minds. And so it's a combination of being able to express and also move and get it out. So it's very powerful.
Just to clarify for those who may not know, when you do the rating of cancer, the higher the number, the more significant, shall we say, I don't want to be a little bit more serious. Stage 4 be more serious than stage 3 as opposed to 1. Is that correct?
Yeah, when you're in stage 4, you're never going to be cured of stage 4. You have cancer forever. Now, many people who have stage 4 can live 20 years because they have constantly doing different treatments, but you will always be in treatment. You will never not have cancer. So even though advances have made that last longer, you're still struggling with the side effects of those treatments. Your body changes. Sometimes people get very swollen. Sometimes they gain weight. Sometimes they lose weight. Sometimes they can't work at all, and that's part of their identity. So they're really dealing with a forever mentality of their cancer, and that changes. And so our stage 4 supports are going to have very different conversations than someone who's a stage 1 and they have a 99% chance of kicking it and getting to the other side.
Before we get to a video, because you provided one for us of a lady who is one of your, I call them clients. I think, do you call them clients?
Yeah.
Clients.
Yeah.
Clients. I want to show a few photos, Jonathan. If we can have a few photos, and we'll put one on the screen, and then you'll tell us what that photo is. What's that, Shannon?
That's our 5K race, and one of the teams that came out to support us. It's a wonderful, fun August day in the evening. It's a great one to bring your whole crew out for.
And they have a nice brunch or dinner after the race, if you participate or not. It's a lot of fun. There's a lot of schmoozing that happens. Next, Jonathan.
This is for our fashion show on April 30th. These are all of our models, our local celebrities, and they are all doing some fundraising in their peer groups and their network to raise money so that people can get all of those services here at Ann's Place for free. That's our second largest event. Are
there still tickets available?
They're not on sale yet. We put them up on sale, I think mid to late March.
And if people want to access to buy tickets and those kinds of things, and I know when the sponsors, we sponsor every year, so we get a certain number of tickets as part of our sponsorship, we being our firm. But if people want to find out about the road race in August, I walk it. I don't usually run the 5K. But if people want to find out about these fundraising activities, what's the best website to go to?
Right to the Ann's Place website, which is annsplace.org. And that's ANNSPLACE.org.
Okay, so that's something that people could access. And the fun things for me to go to is the Festival of Lights, which we'll get to in a few moments. Let's go to the next picture, Jonathan, before we get. All right, this is the road race again.
Yep.
Looking on the next one. This is a celebration of. Tell us about the Festival of Trees.
The Festival of Trees is our largest event. It covers 3 full days. We have entertainment, people volunteering to entertain on the hour. Characters come in. There's things to buy. And then the most important thing is the trees. People from the community decorate the Christmas trees. And last year we had 155 Christmas trees and I think 30 wreaths as well. And they decorate them in all different kinds of themes, from Hanukkah trees to elf trees to everything in between. So it's a lot of fun. You can see that people's creativity, all donated, and raises about $300,000 for Ann's Place every year.
It's funny you mentioned about Hanukkah trees. I had a case one time, and I do a lot of divorce work, in which there's a couple, one was Jewish and one was not. And one of the issues became, could there be a Christmas tree for the kids? And how far, if they had one, should it be from the Hanukkah menorah? So, of course, I did research like I always do in cases. One of my associates may have done the research, and we've discovered Christmas trees are not religious. They are secular. And they're from years and 200 years ago, 150 years ago, whatever, but it is not religious, although it has become one. So the fact you call it Festival of Trees is very shrewd and smart on your part, because it's not about just Christmas.
Right.
Very smart. Right. I think we now should go to the story of the lady who's this lady we're putting on video?
It's actually 3 clients that have been helped by Ann's Place, and you'll get to hear little snippets from each one about what the services meant to them. So,
Jonathan, you put that on, and they've authorized Shannon to put this on the show. So let's listen to what they have. Brilliant words.
I came to Ann's Place 23 years ago when I was diagnosed with fallopian ovarian cancer, and I was so lonely and lost.
We came to Ann's Place shortly after my wife was diagnosed with ovarian cancer in 2018.
I've been at Ann's Place for 2 years, and I've helped numerous people through the therapeutic process of art therapy, counseling, and support groups.
The first time I came to Ann's Place, I knew I was just where I needed to be. It was so magical and spiritual, and I can still feel the feeling today.
And it meant so much to our family to know that she was comforted and cared for.
So as a husband and a father, I was feeling helpless, afraid. I didn't have all the answers. I wanted to do everything for Pam and realized I couldn't. But Ann's Place could. They could fill the gaps.
Art therapy is so profound. I worked with a gentleman in the last 3 months of his life who was really struggling with what he would encounter after his death. In our time together, he created this image of an endless landscape that represented what might lie ahead for him. What was once fearful and unknown materialized into tranquility and peace. In his last days, he requested that his artwork be hung near his bed to give him comfort in those final moments.
I was so fearful at that time. I felt like I totally lost my identity. And Ann's Place helped me to reclaim it. And I once again could feel like a mother and a wife and a nurse.
If there was one takeaway I had in all the journey over 3.5 years, from the time Pam was diagnosed to the time she passed, it's realizing just how important cancer patients are to each other.
Ann's Place has been part of our family for a long time, and now that my father needs their support, he's been able to be open to it, which is not his nature normally to share his feelings with others, but he's very comfortable with the men's group.
I'm really grateful that my daughters were able to receive counseling here at Ann's Place. And that counseling doesn't stop when the patient passes. That counseling is available to family members for as long as they need it. The 3 words that best describe Ann's Place to me are caring, understanding, and compassion.
Strength,
Hope,
support.
Comfort, safety, and community.
Rest assured, your support will help another family someday just as much as it helped ours.
Please support Ann's Place.
it's as good as it gets, and we are so blessed to have this in our community.
Shannon, I had not watched that video except for the opening because I wanted to see it on the show, and it's very, very moving. And I'll tell you, as I've got to know you very well through the years, and as the gentleman used those three words, caring, understanding, and compassion, those are the words I'd use to describe you. And so you as the leader of the organization, it takes a village, right? But it takes good leadership, as we know. And that was very moving, and thank you for sharing that with us. The thought I also had was, before the show, we were talking, the three of us were talking with our director, my director, Jonathan, and there was someone that he knew who was a friend of a friend, won't mention the name, of course, who was utilizing services of Ann's Place. And just to hear the discussion, the thing that hit me is you talk about the needs for the family members. Well, and even when you were talking about that particular person, you knew the name, and you've only probably had, I think, 5,000 people, but you knew the name. And you generally knew the name. You didn't say, oh, yeah, I know the name. You knew the name. Mm-hmm. And it must be very difficult for you and the staff and that gentleman, the person who was in the, I'm sure it was the husband or the wife who was the one who was a model who lost his or her life. But when you get connected with someone and then they pass, there's got to be a stress and a strain on the staff. How do you handle that stuff, even for yourself? How do you handle that? You miss someone you really adored for 3 years and they're gone now, and you know that they have young kids. How do you deal with that, if at all?
That's a conversation we have a lot here. The clinical team has a weekly meeting where they can talk about different programs and treatments and, experiences that they've had that they need to kind of talk out. But we discovered that what we really needed is once a month is to do something called holding space, where they can grieve. They can have a moment with other clinicians to kind of, let that grief out, because for many of our clients, they're with us for years and we really get to know them very well. And so, that loss is significant for our staff as well. We also do a yearly retreat, and all of our staff go to the yearly retreat. And what was interesting last year is we had a retreat and we had some kind of holding space time. The people that had things to say were more the administrative staff. because for them, they don't have that weekly check-in to talk about the emotional impact, but they still meet our clients. And, a lot of our clients volunteer at our events and come into the office. And so we lose them too. And while not as tightly connected as the clinicians, there is definitely an effect on all of our staff, no matter what role you're playing, back house, front house. It does make a difference when we lose people.
It's interesting, Shannon. Your voice was different in a positive way as you're discussing the topic I just asked you about, because it is very hard for you and the staff, and you can see a little bit of emotion building up, and you'd want that. I'd want that in a person who's leading your organization. I did a TV show with Tara Donnelly, who was a lady in her early 40s, who lost both of her parents to gun violence 20 years ago. And I talked, and she's now doing things to help people who are suffering that kind of trauma. And that's in some ways almost worse than what people you are going through. You can't judge it, but in that situation, see you, Mom, see you next week, and you never have another word. At least sometimes people with cancer can have time to talk about things. But she said to me something that really moved me. So I asked her how she dealt with the passing of her parents and that kind of thing. And she said, Bob, you never heal, but we adjust.
Yeah.
I thought that was, in my life, it's in the top 10 most authentic and real things. And I think it applies to what you were talking about. She said, you never heal, but you adjust. And I think that's...
that's an important distinction, because one of the reasons people don't come to counseling or get therapy or our support group is they feel like if they stopped breathing, they would lose the person. They would lose that memory. And that's not at all what happens through the counseling process and the support groups. I think the best description I've had is folding in. You're in that adjustment. You're folding it into who you are in a much more beautiful way of, yes, it's grief. Yes, it hurts. But it's now part of who you are and how you experience the world, as you've had this experience with this person. And so, learning how to fold it in so it doesn't just completely disintegrate you every time you even think of the person is a really important process. But you never forget them.
We only have less than a minute to go, so we have to have some more shows coming up, as you always do. But just real quickly, if someone wants to involve him or herself or the family in Ann's Place Services, it's the same website you talked about before. You just contact the website, and that's the way it gets done, essentially.
Yeah, or give us a call, 203-790-6568. And we have great people here. You can dial 1 to get a real person, if you don't want to get voicemail. And we'll just get you set up with an appointment. Intake is as easy as we can make it. It can be over the phone. You could come into Ann's Place. You could do a Zoom, whatever is easiest for you.
Shannon Cobb, whenever I talk to you, whether it's about Ann's Place or anything at all, you're a beautiful lady inside and out, and you exude that perspective to Ann's Place. Thank you very much for coming on the show. And folks, get contact with Ann's Place if you need their assistance. This has been Bob Potzner. I'm very much moved right now, as you can tell. So thank you very much, and God bless. This is The Bobby O Show.